speak to you a little bit about AI.
Why?
Because I had some amusing thoughts about AI.
Okay.
So, you know how, like, China is teaching AI to little kids, and then the US responded by signing a bill to teach AI to, like, kindergartners and stuff?
I don't know that at all, but okay.
Well,
I'm with you.
the thing about this is that, like, it's going to create sort of a generation of just, like, input only. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, you input information, and then the work of creating output is going to be handled by the AI.
I see.
So it's like prompt based.
Oh yeah.
So you have everybody completely focused on input, on just kind of giving sort of a prompt or a command.
Right. You're just like shoveling information into the computer, and then the computer spits out some kind of special treat.
I think it's important to note that, like, the input is incomplete. Like, the input, like, it's not a fully formed idea.
Right. It's just like okay, sexy, blonde, high heels, bikini. Okay, now make something.
Right, and then you get 4 options, and then you pick the one that's, like, the closest to the one you're thinking of, and then you refine. And this is the mode of thinking now. This is what, you know, because I mean, a lot of stuff, the way that we think is not, you know, there's not one way to think. Like, just the way that we think now, how we formulate ideas and problem solve, it's not, like, self-evident. It's something that's, like, or not, that's not the right word, but it's not like just, there's not one way to do it. It's not just intrinsic to the way the human mind works. Like, the human mind is trained to think in a particular way, right?
Sure.
So you're going to get a bunch of people when those kids grow up who are able only to work in this way, you know?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between like, if you have an idea or, you know, a bunch of ideas, there's really a big difference between having those ideas in your head and executing them, whether it's writing, drawing, you know, some actual physical effort. And like, you actually have to, like, get down into the weeds and make everything work, make everything sync up, make everything feel good, and that takes like real thought and real effort. That's like that's the real work of creativity. And but I feel like, you know, it is for people who want to avoid that. AI is probably a dream come true.
Sure, but I mean, that's 100% true, but, like, it's a little different, and in fact it's almost impossible to really conceive how it'll be when you start someone thinking that way, you know? As opposed to like, sort of like someone who never, you know, like me, for example. Like, I never had the internet, or you for that matter. I never had the internet when I was growing up, and then we got the internet, like, in the 90s, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is new now, right? But so I was kind of able to, I grew up, you know, in more of an analog way, like writing with pencils and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, my teacher doesn't want to see my fucking longhand report. She wants it typed now. Okay, I have to learn how to type. And then after that, it's like, okay, you know, before I'd have to get, like, the Encyclopedia Britannica to fucking look up stuff, or, like, go to the library, but now I just can do everything on Wikipedia or whatever, you know, start from Wikipedia and then just, like, source all my shit there.
Right.
So what happens when, you know, and then obviously, like, some kid who grows up and they just have the internet, that's just the way that they're going to be, you know, doing research or just learning about stuff. But then somebody who doesn't actually even have to do the labor of thinking and just has to, you know, because we're not talking about making art necessarily. We're talking about everything. We're talking. But
also, AI is, like, built off of all these ideas that were conceived of through hard labor.
Yeah.
And so the next generation is just coming up using that as a foundation for their shitty stuff.
Sure. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, there was, like, millions of people had to die and suffer for us to kind of just have our kind of easy lives, and it's kind of the same thing. It's similar.
But I mean, I feel like there's a difference between, like, oh, this person invented, years ago, somebody invented the toilet, and now we live in a world where that's a lot more.
There's toilets,
at least in the United States. I don't know about Taiwan, but
we shit in a hole in the ground.
Now we live in this sort of a world that's a far more sanitary because there are toilets, and I don't feel like we sort of lost any of our humanity because we don't have to shit in a hole. Whereas I do feel like
talk to a guy from the 1300s. He'd be like, everything's all wrong. You don't understand.
This is the most important part of my day.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do feel like removing this aspect of humanity of actually having to as an artist sit down and really do the work, and not only in creating something but improving yourself as an artist.
You're talking about it as it relates to art. I'm talking about it in more of a broad sense.
See, I don't even know what else AI can be used for other than just to make shitty scripts and cartoons and
it's
like is it supposed to do something else?
Yeah, I mean, you can
and emojis anything. Name something other than can AI cook a burrito?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can't cook a burrito, but it can tell you how to do it.
Oh,
and follow the instructions.
So can a Mexican.
Okay, but I mean, now you're putting me in a position where I'm advocating for AI. There's definitely useful. For example, hey, ChatGPT, I've never changed a doorknob before. But I have this doorknob. How do I do it? And I don't have the instructions or something. It'll tell you what screwdriver you need, what you have to do first. That's sort of just a very simple example, I burned myself.
That's something that the internet's been doing since the since the internet started, is advice. Hey, what's the best? What are the best pork chops on the market today? Oh, okay, these. All right, I'll get.
Yeah, but that's how do
I make a salad? Oh,
Yeah, but okay, how do I make a salad? And then the search engine finds an article that someone made. Whereas AI is you can.
So AI basically took that article and just regurgitates it.
Well, but I mean I'm thinking of okay, so for example, hey AI, I'm in trouble because I
cheated on my wife.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I cheated on my wife.
Now I have AIDS.
I cheated on my wife and I have AIDS. How should I deal with this? And it's that's a terrible situation. Here's probably the best thing to do. What do you want to get out of this? Do you care about the marriage, or what do you want to get?
I guess I didn't really know when Google when you would ask questions to Google, I don't think I really noticed the change to AI's answering my questions.
No, I'm not talking about Google. I'm talking about going on an AI model like ChatGPT or something like that.
Because if I have a question, I go onto Google, and then there's this AI says this is the best way to wash your face or something. But I don't I can't really pinpoint the time where AI is answering my questions now. Before that, I was just getting a list of posts of what is
Well, okay. The point is that there's a generation of kids that are gonna just not really have to figure anything out. They're always just gonna have daddy to type, to ask the question to what should I do, and then it'll tell them how to do it.
Right.
So that's just it signifies a fundamental shift in the foundational ways that people think,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. So I mean that's just something kind of that's just going to happen, and it makes me nervous just because just this idea of everyone that guy everyone
he's got a big this is the artist guy. He's got this moment here, but he really isn't he doesn't really have a point.
Well, it's because so everybody right now on the TV, you guys don't see we're talking about Poltergeist 3 that you can probably tell from the thumbnail.
And our laughter.
Yeah, it's just on TV. It's just on TV right now, silent with subtitles, just to sort of refresh us of the whole thing. But we're laughing at the Japanese artist. I think that they were just happy that, like, hey, this guy's Japanese. Like back in the '80s, it was like, you know,
there was a moment. Yeah.
What do you want to have for dinner? Let's go get sushi. Ooh, like that's like a big. That's like a. Ooh, this person's like very cosmopolitan. You know. Regarding like AI art specifically, the funny thing is, like, I was talking with this guy today who's like on some going to be on some panel in Singapore talking about AI and like how it can be used in art and music and stuff or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, I'm like, you know, he's like, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming down the line where people are going to be like, make me a movie that's about dinosaurs and robots or whatever. And,
sure.
And it's just going to make something, and this is his words, he goes, and it's probably going to be like just barely entertaining. And that's just going to be what people like. And I'm like, I've never seen anything like, you know, made by AI that's been more than just sort of, you know, slightly amusing, like in the same way that like a screensaver is or something like that.
Right.
And to say that, to just sort of take it as a given that the thing's going to be entertaining, I think is already starting at the wrong, you know, starting at the wrong place, because it's none of it's entertaining. Like
no.
it's junk. It sucks. And you know, and then you say that to a guy like this, and you're like, yeah, you know, I've never seen anything that's been made by AI that's been actually entertaining. And he goes, of course, not yet, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking like, well, how could it ever be? Because, you know, I'm looking at, I only care about art in terms of like what, you know, how it kind of, you know, like is an expression of the human soul, you know.
Exactly.
That's so if it's not that, then I'm not interested, you know. And I mean, I guess someone could make an argument where it's kind of like, well, it's taking kind of like everything that's ever happened, and it's kind of, you know, giving you like an even more comprehensive idea.
It doesn't matter because it's like you're filtering it. You're like a human being is taking, you know, everything that ever happened and filtering it through their own experience and their own brain chemistry and revealing something.
It has to be filtered through like a person, through like
right, but not like you filter it through a machine, and it's nothing. Like there's nothing there, and I mean, yeah, I don't like. I can see you using AI to like create little special effects here and there. But to actually like create something of substance, and for people to think and get excited, like, oh, I'm so excited to see the you know what AI is going to do next. Yeah, it's just like, who gives a fucking shit?
So then I noticed, I was telling you this the other day on the when we were in the elevator, I was like, there's a lot of like medication. There's like a pill or some kind of medication on TV that if you have AIDS, it's to make it so that nobody knows you have AIDS or something like that. Uh-huh. You know, and then I saw another one that's for
AIDS camouflage.
And then so I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I saw this boner pill called Hims, and it's a boner pill that's on TV. Do you really? No. Okay. I was like, oh, hook me up.
Not yet.
Yeah, but the funny thing about the commercials is that. Like you were talking about like when Howard who was it on Howard Stern who was doing advertisements for Viagra back in like 2003 or whatever?
Oh, some baseball player, I can't remember his name. It was like a Yankee or Mets baseball player. Okay, so there's some, and Howard Stern's like, aren't you embarrassed about doing that? You know, like what the point is of all this is like, it used to be embarrassing, like, and for a long time that persisted. You know, mm-hmm. Hey, does your dick not work? Is your dick all fucked up and it doesn't work and you're a pussy? And so you need, you're a pussy.
So you need medicine to make your dick like, you know, work again, so that, you know, your wife won't leave you.
Right.
Well, here's the fucking the pill for it, but don't worry, because we'll deliver it to you in a discreet packaging with no marks on it, and like no one will ever know. It was this sort of secret thing. But what this new pill Hims is doing is they start the commercial, and it's just these scripted testimonials from these women, mm-hmm. from these hot babes, and they're like, I love it when when he puts that pill in his mouth, then I know that I'm in for it, or like, and then it's like, yeah, I mean, like things are okay when he's not taking Hims, but when he does, like, oh my God, it's so much better. I love it. It gets my shorts all fucking wet. And so all they've done, nothing has changed in terms of like the actual product. They're trying to change the surrounding perception, the surrounding culture,
Right.
So it's like, oh, remember that thing that used to be embarrassed of? Well, it turns out that it's not embarrassing anymore because we just decided that it's not. And that's the same thing I think is going to happen, like in terms of AI. Like it's not.
I used to be embarrassed to like AI.
Well, no, that's exactly it. I used to think that it wasn't that entertaining and that it sucks. But what's going to happen is just like the surrounding perception, the standard is going to just be lowered.
Right.
And all of a sudden, oh, you know what? We're not actually looking for like something that shows some insight into sort of the human experience, or like I don't know, like this kind of stuff. Like kind of something that feels like it engages with you on a level that affects you, like in a deep way, and.
So you're saying that AI we're going to get to a point where AI standards are going to be so low that AI is going to start looking good.
Yeah, it's instead of AI getting better, it's just that the standards around it are going to drop.
Yeah,
and people are just going to.
I think that's a very that could be a reasonable possibility.
AI is going to get better, that's for sure. Like in terms of just like how realistic it looks and how easy it can kind of seem like it was made by a person, but at the end of the day, like,
I mean, I feel like a lot of movies now look like they're made by AI. They're so stupid.
They're so stupid. I mean, like for the longest time, like, I mean, David Cronenberg said this all the way. I think he might have even said it all the way back when he was doing maybe even Existence. He was saying like, in the future, most of a film is going to be animation anyways. It's going to be realistic enough that you're not going to notice, but like just in terms of like safety, in terms of like cost effectiveness, like and it's expensive now, but as time goes on it'll become less expensive, and then most movies are going to just be like animation instead of live action. And then you get things like, hey, there's a live action Lion King, and it's like, it's not live action, it's all just 3D animation.
But then, ultimately I feel like people are just going to be turning more and more to just like TikTok videos of people like sticking stuff up their ass and drinking pee because they're going to be craving reality. So like all these things that seem so stupid, but at least like there's a realness to them. And I mean, they're basically taking the place of films because films are so lame.
My friend, the guy who was saying, who's at that Singapore AI summit or whatever, he was saying that his nephew has no interest in watching movies or anything. All he wants to watch, the only thing he wants to watch is TikTok,
right?
And goof around on like Minecraft or something,
right?
But yeah, I mean, people. That's the thing, is that people they crave like truth and like interaction, like human interaction. And if they're not getting it from let's say sort of mainstream media, then they're going to go seeking it out in other places. And right now, something like TikTok is more real than anything else. So let's talk about Poltergeist 3.
Sure.
First, you can't talk about Poltergeist 3 until you talk about Poltergeist 1. Is
that true?
No, but let's talk about Poltergeist 1 first.
Sure.
So, what do you think of Poltergeist 1?
It's a good ghost movie. I mean, we were talking about the other day, like there's ghost movies like The Changeling, where it's sort of like there's a ghost. Initially, the ghost is kind of scary, but then it's sort of revealed that like this ghost needs to be helped in some way. He
doesn't like that.
He's trying to send a message. The ghost is trying to send some sort of message, like help me. And then, it's up to the living person to sort of figure out, oh, the ghost wants me to get revenge for them and then start doing all these things. I don't like those types of ghost movies. I like purely malevolent ghosts whose only purpose is just to cause mayhem and
that really is. I said this to you before that really is like the way that Japanese sort of see the spirit world.
Like even like something like The Ring, where like there's that initial idea of like we need to help this girl, we need to sort of like get her body out of the well and like bury it properly or like there's something going on there like we need to figure out like who this girl is and how she died and how to make things right. But then once they even do that, it's still like that doesn't do anything. Like the ghost still is gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah, but the thing is that like, all right, in the case of like The Ring, the ghost itself is just kind of like on autopilot. Like it's just almost like a looping echo.
Right.
It's not intelligent. It doesn't want anything. It just kind of, it's just sort of this pattern that gets kind of like locked in this videotape, and all it really is just a feeling, and it's just a negative feeling. It's just like it's revenge or something. Same thing with The Grudge. I mean, the fucking thing's called The Grudge. Like that's what it is. It's a grudge embodied, or not. I guess not embodied.
But just the idea that like there's no solution. You're not going to stop this. Whereas like in The Changeling, it's once I sort of like get revenge for what happened to this kid, then finally he'll be at rest. Those types of ghost stories aren't as interesting to me.
All right. Well, Poltergeist isn't really like that.
Right. It's very the ghosts are very malevolent, and there's no real cure for what's going on.
They're ghosts that haven't gone to the next heaven or whatever, and they're just stuck here. So the way to fix it is to get them to go to heaven.
But I mean, like it's not done in a way where like we need to. It's more like we just need to get rid of these things.
All right, listen. I think let me pinpoint the issue.
Right.
You like it, but you like it more when the ghost is unreasonable.
Right.
And it's unreasonable because in the same way that like negotiating with an insect is it seems unreasonable.
Right.
The ghost just doesn't think the way that we do.
Poltergeist is like how do we get rid of these things? It's not about like, well, if we reconsecrate the ground and say a couple Hail Marys, they'll go away. It's like there's nothing, there's no settling these ghosts down until you just figure out a way to like just eliminate them completely.
All right, in terms of like just sort of the more, that's kind of this broad concept, but in terms of like the characters and the performances and the set pieces and stuff, there's a lot to talk about with the original Poltergeist. Like, I really like Coach and Jo Beth Williams.
Everybody in it is great, and I mean, it's a PG movie, and I think it's like one of those rare instances of like a modern horror movie rated PG that is still very effective.
Well, yeah, I mean, this movie is like Poltergeist, and maybe like even. I don't know. It was around this time when it was kind of like maybe we need something that's like more than PG. So movies like Poltergeist, if I'm not mistaken, kind of drove the push towards something, more than a fucking a PG, and then you get PG-13.
Well, PG-13 I think happens like sometime like right after Poltergeist. Sure. I don't know when PG-13 like was initially started, but it was definitely like early mid 80s when they started doing that.
Right.
Because I remember like on HBO, I had HBO when it first was like early 80s, and there were PG movies like I don't know, Kramer versus Kramer or whatever, because they wouldn't show R stuff before 8 p.m. but they would show PG stuff, and there was a lot of PG shit with tits
and Bush
and Yeah, like I think you see, speaking of Poltergeist, you see Joe Beth Williams' tits in Kramer versus Kramer.
You see her fucking
In her bush
vagina,
too. Yeah. So that's
you see her open labia, her spread open labia.
Yeah, like in her shit pipe, you see it all.
The kid puts a fucking a fried chicken leg. A fried chicken leg right into her asshole.
It's a transformer up there.
It's really unbelievable, guys. But the thing is that I guess maybe it's like, this movie is like an important movie or something. Same thing with something like Jerry Maguire, like the movie's like wholesome and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But then there's that scene where Tom Cruise is like fucking that lady in the beginning.
No, I don't even remember.
But it's like it's okay though because it's like but it's okay, like that's fine because the movie is so wholesome and we love Tom Cruise so much.
Right.
So this movie can be PG-13. And I don't think there's nudity in that, but it's pretty graphic. Just about as graphic as something can be without it being like nudity.
Right. Okay.
Anyways, what the fuck am I talking? Oh yeah. So yeah, Poltergeist pretty cool.
But it's also like it's packed with, and unlike 2 and 3, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's packed with ideas. It's packed with horror set pieces, gags, whatever you want to call them. Like there's so many great ideas in that movie.
Yeah, it's a regular smorgasbord.
And so many great visuals, characters. It's just like her being pulled into the TV and the unfinished pool filled with corpses, the slimy corpses in there, and the midget psychic and the
clown.
The clown with the long arms and the big tree outside and the guy picking his face in the mirror, eating the chicken.
Also that sort of organic throat hallway thing.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm sure made an impression on you. I'd never seen anything like that before. Sort of just this idea of like, like sort of this almost like how do you even say that? Like bio horror kind, like this idea of like the idea of the supernatural, like kind of manifesting itself physically in the real world and kind of it being this tumorous kind of thing. Like it's actually a really bizarre idea, but it's almost taken as like a given.
The huge like skull face in the closet.
Oh, and that sort of weird spindly sort of thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the music's great. And I mean, I know there's like a debate about like, Spielberg directed it, Tobe Hooper directed it, but I mean, yeah, I don't know, but you definitely see Spielberg elements to it, but I also like there's definitely like Hooper elements to it as well.
You look at Life Force,
right?
And it's like I don't know. I think that as far as like the action stuff is concerned and like the supernatural stuff is concerned, it feels like a Tobe Hooper movie.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like maybe like some of the kid stuff and sort of like the sort of family things, maybe Spielberg was kind of like helping out with that stuff because he's good with that. Mm-hmm. Those E.T. kind of.
You ever see those behind the scenes of like him directing the kid who played Elliot in E.T.?
No.
He's really like I'm just like, damn. This is the reason why this guy is so good. Like he's just so good at like amping this kid up, and he's right there beside the camera, and he's like, okay, work yourself up. Okay, breathe. Okay, now you're excited. It's the part where he's opening up the thing and E.T.'s alive again. And he's like, oh, now you're just as happy as you can ever imagine. You're so happy, and more. He's just getting this kid, and he's smiling. He's just beaming. Steven Spielberg, like he's just developing this very close relationship with this kid to get the performance out of him.
He's in most of his good movies, like that's like one of the things that really shines. It's like his ability to get those performances out of kids and teenagers and stuff, and. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he had a helping hand in that area, but I don't know what else is there to say about that movie. It's good.
Yeah, go see Poltergeist III. Poltergeist 1. Poltergeist. I don't know. Like it's a classic. I mean, what else are you going to say about it? I think that's a 4 out of 5 for me for sure.
Yeah, I would probably say that 4 or 4.5. It's up there.
Yeah, like that's like just we're talking about like. The most basic bitch movie ever, like a movie like Poltergeist. It's as on the same level as something like E.T.
And also, speaking of kids, the performance of the little girl is pretty great.
Yeah.
Like there's just a very, just really strong, innocent, real performance to what she's doing, which is something like watching Poltergeist 3. She's starting to look a little weird.
Well, you know the whole deal.
Yeah,
with that.
I know didn't she have like some like diabetes or some sort of health?
No.
Problem?
Well, yes, but I'll tell you the details of that in a moment.
All right, but she's starting to look a little odd. But also, beside that, there's something about a performance that, like, she's becoming more professional. Like,
she does come off as like a Disney kid.
She's suddenly becoming a little bit more, very slick. You can tell like she's been around the block now. She's been making. This is her third movie, and she's, she kind of knows what she's doing now. She knows what the directors want, and she's giving it.
She's been passed around at the Hollywood fucking sex orgy parties. Forgive me for that one, folks.
But she's at this point she's sort of lost that like really intriguing.
Well, that's just what happens when kids get older, anyhow.
Right, but I mean, when you're still having to use her as a cute little,
she's not being used in the same way. I don't think in Poltergeist 3. I mean, you can say that you like her less, and I wouldn't argue with you on that. But they're not. I mean, the one thing that I will give you is that they are dressing her in this sort of like little, like kind of a little baby onesie,
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like they're still using her as like
a baby.
She's still like the baby girl in the first movie, but she's probably like 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, but it's entirely a wardrobe thing. I don't think that she behaves like they're trying to make her behave like a baby.
Well, she's playing Speak and Spell.
That's true.
She's wearing the onesie.
The Speak and Spell is a little bit funny. Like this girl, probably can. Read, I don't know, Fifth Business at this point. Do you know that book, Fifth Business?
No.
Okay, it's a Canadian book. Anyways, I mean, okay, so we kind of skipped over 2. Is there anything you want to say before we go on to 3?
Okay, well, 2, I don't remember a lot about 2. I just remember feeling slightly disappointed. I don't feel like it's packed with the same amount of great ideas that the first one is. Like the only real solid idea that I remember is the tequila worm gag, which is really great.
Yeah.
It is a great gag. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the whole creepy preacher guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's always talking about how scary he is and whatever, and I'm just like, I don't really like the performance that much.
I don't know. Like I wasn't connecting with him, and I didn't. I think there was like also just in the first one, it's very vague who these ghosts are. Like I think you might get like a little bit of information about like who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like are they like these people that were like
I mean, it's asking her to spell pheasant. I mean, I think that maybe like at this time you would give this kid something like this to spell more like advanced words and shit, like because it's new too. Like Speak and Spell was probably like just came out like that year,
right?
And it's to
but also it was like
practice for the spelling bee, for the state spelling bee.
Wasn't it like made like into a big deal because didn't E.T. use Speak and Spell to build a spaceship or to call his alien friends?
This part right here when they have the actress in the back mimicking her,
mm-hmm.
and then she puts her hands up first. All that stuff I think is great. I think that's actually why I think this movie is like worth watching. Why I would recommend it.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So Poltergeist II. I felt like the way that they're getting a little bit more, they're sort of getting into the origin of like these ghosts that are following Carol Ann around, and like I feel like the more you know about who these ghosts are, the less interesting they are.
Yeah, it's like the Borg on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
You'll have to explain.
So the Borg, are these. It's just scary because of how simple and how simple and elemental they are, and it's just like they're a group of aliens that are combined with robotic shit, and all they function as a collective rather than like in a group of individuals, and they can't be reasoned with or negotiated with. They're just like this force in the universe, and they exist almost like a bacteria. Like all they want to do is just assimilate and just make everyone into them, and that's all they do. But then in the later iterations, like the later episodes of the Borg, and then into the movies and into all the other crap, the other spin-offs and like the more recent series, the more they explain, the more that the mystique is pulled off of it.
You're removed, like when you start, especially like in horror and fantasy or whatever, like the more information.
Same thing with the alien from Aliens.
Right, or that too. Like the more information you're given, the less scary that this thing is, the less interesting it is.
Well, no, there's a certain, I think that needs to be slightly adjusted, because like you want a certain level of information given.
Sure.
Like that's the most interesting thing about aliens. Well, like discovering the life cycle. Like how do they work?
With but then like once it gets into like, well, we're like, we humans and aliens actually came from the same, whatever this.
Yeah, that's obviously too far.
It's just like, come on. Or, like when Rob Zombie's making the Halloween movies, and it's like, well, let's get back into like the origin of like, it's just kind of like, it's just like, we don't need to know that shit. Like when you sort of like humanize them, or, going back to the first Poltergeist, you just get kind of like these little seeds of information of like who these ghosts are. The real estate guy moved the bodies from the cemetery and or didn't move the bodies and built houses on top of the bodies. They just moved the headstones or something. But who are these people? I don't know. They're from long ago, and it's still very vague, and that works. Like that's all you need to know. Like you don't really. But then in the second one, it's this religious cult, and this guy's the creepy leader, and I mean it's just not. It's not as fun, and the movie's not as packed with interesting gags and ideas as the first one.
I think it's also more like I think that there is a world where that works, where you can kind of like, you have Poltergeist and it's just like whatever, like just a bunch of mischievous, malevolent spirits, and then the second one is kind of like is like Aliens, where you have like the alien queen, like just sort of the boss. Mm-hmm. I think it can be done. I just didn't really like something just about that actor. Like it's like, he looks scary because he's dying of stomach cancer, but his performance is sort of kind of lame. I didn't think it was that good. People are always like, he gives a chilling performance. I'm like, I don't really see it.
He was dying of stomach cancer in real life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like dying. He's like, on his way out. I think he died like, months after they finished shooting. Okay. But what bugs me about Poltergeist 2 the most is just how they double down on the saccharine kind of elements, like how just all the thing about the grandmother, and then also like it turns out that the mother is psychic, and then Carol Ann is psychic too, and then the grandmother is like, there's a part where they go to a diner and the grandmother like sort of momentarily possesses some waitress, and she's like you have to hold your family, you have to love your daughters, and love is the answer to everything, and it's all about kind of like, I mean, the
Who directed the second one?
Oh God, I think it was like I don't know. I'll actually look it up. But you keep talking about something. Tell me about something else about Poltergeist 2.
I don't fucking remember other than the fucking tequila moment. Right. Well, I guess H.R. Giger did design for it. But other than
he designed that
the tequila monster,
no,
he didn't do that one.
I mean, maybe, but I know that he designed like that weird sort of Brian Gibson. Who's Brian Gibson?
Don't know.
The Juror, Still Crazy, Josephine Breaking Glass. What's Love Got to Do with It? The Tina Turner story. Wow, what a bizarre director to choose.
Eclectic group of.
I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. Like, this must have just been some fucking jobber director who just kind of, stepped in at the right time to the right lunch with Steven Spielberg or something, or whoever was producing this thing, Kathleen Kennedy. Captain Crunch. This guy must have had a little bit of Captain Crunch, a little too much Captain Crunch in the morning, if you know what I mean. But okay, so that the monster, like at the end, it's like this. It's all done with claymation or stop motion animation.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, yeah, that's not that good, but that's actually what H.R. Giger designed, as far as I know. Maybe also the tequila worm monster as well, but it makes sense that he did, because it really has a lot of his hallmarks, like all that sort of ribbed kind of crap all over it.
Yeah.
So maybe he did. But anyways, yeah, so Poltergeist 2, that one actually I rate rather low. Like, I'd say that for me that's a 4 out of 5, or sorry, 2 out of 5.
Yeah. You can skip Poltergeist 2, unless you want to move on to Poltergeist 3.
Poltergeist 3 I rate higher than Poltergeist 2 because of just there's a lot of things I like about this film. It's not a good film by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of things that I really like about it. And I guess I'll talk about them.
But directed by Gary Sherman, who
not Gary Goddard, the director of Masters of the Universe and alleged child molester. Gary Sherman, good man.
Gary Sherman directed Vice Squad, which is a great movie.
He also directed Dead and Buried, which I think is a great movie, underrated movie.
It's okay.
I think it's great.
Go see Vice Squad.
Well, hold on. Let me talk about Poltergeist 3.
Sure.
Just in brief, like the summary of the script of the story. Carol Ann is now, I don't know, maybe like 10, and she's
she's like 20.
Carol Ann is now 15 years old and still wearing a onesie.
She's wearing a onesie, and she's just
playing on a speak and spell. And
she looks like she has Gary Coleman disease or something.
And so let's talk about that first of all. She was misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease. So like they were like, oh, she's got Crohn's, so they had to.
So that's like diarrhea, like all the time.
Yeah, it's like some kind of enzyme isn't being produced or something, so you can't like, you're not shitting properly or something. So they gave her like some kind of steroids to fix that.
Okay.
To sort of, because it has to do with some, I don't know, inflammation or something.
Sure.
So they gave her like these steroids, and all the steroids do is just make her retain water, so she gets all fucking chubbed out in the face. And then meanwhile, the real issue was that she had like a impacted colon, like she just had some like poo that wasn't going anywhere. So then she ended up dying of like
poo poison.
Yeah, like sepsis or like blood poisoning, like septic shock or something.
Huh.
So she ended up dying because of a misdiagnosis, and the reason why.
But how did she get the impacted feces?
This is why the Hollywood fucking sex parties. They passed her around. The Steven Spielberg fucking.
So you're saying right here on the public, you're accusing, on the Public Figures podcast, you're officially accusing Steven Spielberg of fucking Carol Ann Heather O'Rourke in the ass, impacting her feces and causing her sepsis and death.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, listen. I mean, I wasn't there, but I mean, you gotta fucking connect the dots on this one.
When there's smoke, there's fire.
When there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, fuck. Old Joe Dante. No, not Joe Dante. What's the name of that motherfucker? The guy who directed American John Landis.
Okay.
Like old John Landis fucking like murdered 2 Vietnamese children and like chopped off the head of fucking, what's the name of that guy?
Vic Morrow.
Yeah. And he just got away with it because he just had, he was friends with Spielberg and the rest of the fucking gang, George Lucas and everybody else. Mm-hmm. And they were just was not held accountable, And it's like, it's his set, he's signing off on everything. He has to take responsibility. And he just didn't have to face the music on that one. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and that's something, I brought that up to a particular actress one time, whose name I won't mention, Melissa Leo, and she was just like, "Were you there?" Like she got angry that I brought it up, And you weren't there. You have no idea what was going on at that time. And I was just like, well, all I know is that like he didn't have to answer for it. That's the issue. Whether like whose fault it was,
right,
is one thing, or like what exactly happened. Well, all we know is that 3 people died,
right,
and he wasn't held accountable, and no one was held accountable. So it's just kind of like, there's something wrong there. But whatever, we're not talking about that right now. Regarding Heather O'Rourke, it is very sad. Also, there is sort of like, the movie kind of like seems to like lose a lot of focus around like maybe the end of the second act, and you kind of, there's just a bunch of crap happening, and there's a necklace, and then Tangina kind of appears with like out of some water, and there's like a bunch of ducks quacking in a freezer and all that stuff, and it's just kind of like,
that was a little goofy. I don't feel like this is like horror is Gary Sherman's thing. Like a lot of the horror, like with they're being chased by cars or the elevators going crazy, like it just felt like these are things that could have happened in the Vice Squad movie.
I don't know. I think like a lot of the mirror stuff, a lot of like even
my favorite gag in the whole thing is the whole movie's packed with mirror stuff, but when the midget turns into like a corpse, and she falls to the ground, and then she crawls out, and then what's her face? Lara Flynn Boyle crawls out of her body.
There's a boil on my ass.
She crawls out of the midget's body. That might be the best gag in the whole movie, but for the most part, it's pretty weak.
I don't agree. I think there's lots of good stuff in this. Like it doesn't have the same sort of wide variety as the original Poltergeist. Everything pretty much stays like within the vein of mirrors and reflections and stuff, and also cold. There's also this element of like the building is being made cold by the ghost,
right?
So there's like this coldness to the whole movie, and the part where like the pool freezes and that kid jumps out and he's all covered in like ice or whatever, just this part right here where the hands grab her and pull her down into the puddle,
right? Yeah. It's also weird that there's a turn in it where her aunt, played by Nancy Allen, and her husband, played by Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt kind of looks like Satan a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But they're like running around looking for her, and suddenly like Nancy Allen hates Carol Ann's guts. That wicked child, and so let's just get out of here and just fuck that kid. I hate that kid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just seems to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like she seems to be kind of okay and seems to like Carol Ann on some level, but when she turns on her, it just seems very abrupt.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's this callback to part 2, where like when fucking Coach gets possessed by the preacher guy, he's like you wished you never had her, like and then your family, like none of this would happen, so you had that thought, right? And then she's like, oh my god, like how did you know
that's
that?
actually from in the first one. There's that tension, but like that they play on between the couple where the midget is like, she call to Carol Ann, like who's the one who's the disciplinarian here, and
look, they're eating sushi. It's like, look at this, isn't this so modern? Look at this, we're eating sushi in Chicago.
And it's sort of like who's the meaner parent, and then there's sort of like this tension of like,
sure, that, but it's specifically about I wish I didn't have the kid, like in the second one, and then and the third one is like I wish the kid never came here. But you're right. Like there's sort of this thing where the ghost is trying to turn you against each other because the love of the family is actually the strength that can ultimately fight it. Earthly weapons can't defeat this thing, but only the love and innocence are the things that are powerful against something that's evil like this.
Well, that's also mentioned here where the midget's kind of like, he sees Nancy Allen and
the midget,
Nancy Allen and Tom Skerritt kind of canoodling and, being affectionate towards each other. And she's like, oh, that's good. The ghosts are going to try to, like, break you up, but you got to stay together.
Yeah, you got to keep fucking fingering her under her dress. What was I going to say about just more, like, interesting, like, mirror stuff. Even just the thing, too, like, where she's just in the room alone. They introduced that room, and then the window washing thing, and the door to her room is
a mirror.
It's all mirrors, like the whole wall is
and
mirrors.
Nancy Allen like walks in.
Right. But even like just that part, the part that I pointed out there, where like they'll do a thing where they have an actress kind of like mirroring her motion, her walking, and then like crawling up on that little thing, and then the actor in the background puts the hands up first, and then that guy raises up. Like those things like that are just so simple and like just effective.
Every possible mirror gag is in this movie.
Every possible mirror gag is. If you like mirrors, this is the movie for you.
Freak you out, you're scared of you. You like mirror horror. This movie is the pinnacle of mirror horror.
I think mirrors are pretty cool, like in terms of like cinematography, like filmmaking. Like having somebody, being able to sort of like have someone talking, but then having like a tall, kind of like a woman's mirror, like a getting dressed mirror, and then having someone else in that mirror, and then like maybe the camera turns and then they're talking with them, like these kinds of things.
I think I love all that stuff.
I love it whenever it happens like that too. Look at this guy covered in fucking jizz. This guy with ghost jizzed all over.
I don't know if you noticed too, because like at the end, this guy doesn't make it out. Like
he dies.
Like he seemingly is not part of the bargain of like, you want to get your family out of the netherworld.
To your point of like her kind of pivoting on Carol Ann and just being like, I fucking hate her. I wish she never came here. That coming out of nowhere. Also, when Tangina, the midget, comes back from death or whatever, and she's like, hey, you don't need Carol Ann. I can take you to the other side. I have the knowledge and the power. And then Kane's like, okay. So then he goes and he takes the hand of Tangina, and they start walking away. And then Nancy Allen's like, no, don't. Go on, I can save you too. And it's like when all of a sudden did she decide
she
that
likes the midget?
Yeah, she loves the midget. And it's like, they would be so much better if, they must have just said, oh, we have to like have her say something because otherwise she's a less sympathetic character. But you have to balance, being a sympathetic character and being, like a dummy, like just or like a goofball. It's like I like this shit too. I've always liked this kind of this membrane. Right now the door is expanding like a balloon, and it's sort of tearing kind of like this membranous layer.
Well, yeah, it looks like they put like some paint on top of it or something, so it would like all crack.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah, also just in addition to the literal coldness, there also is just like a cold temperature in this movie, in terms of the coloring and in terms of just like the very like modern sort of late 80s kind of thing.
I do like the old Carol Ann's.
Oh, like when she's like
when they have like some kind of old midget playing Carol Ann.
Right, or I think it might even just be an old age makeup on her.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then hold on, what else is there? There's something. Oh, also the doctor, like that whole element of like
the
psychology,
the sort of like the science prig who's just sort of like she's trying to hypnotize you.
Yeah, his whole thing doesn't. It never makes sense, Like she can give. Ghosts aren't real, but this girl being able to like control people's minds is real,
right?
And it's like, well, then why can't ghosts be real, Or okay, don't call them ghosts, call them non-corporeal beings or something like that.
Yeah, she's just using the power of mass hypnotism to make us think that I threw the coffee mug into the mirror.
She's just using ESP.
But he does have like some kind of funny line when like the midget's talking and he
goes, oh, that's a whole lot of crap.
Yeah, he says something like that. Like I almost wish that he was gayer. Like I think it would have been a better performance if the guy was like just like Bobby Trendy.
He goes, well, that's a load of crap that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
shut up, Keaton. Did you put a sock in it?
That's like my favorite line in the whole movie.
Yeah. But
That's Gary Sherman coming through.
Like the Vice Squad, Gary Sherman.
Yeah, he's just sort of like, I'm just trying to make this movie to make a couple bucks.
You've never seen this before?
This is my first time watching it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean this is another one that's like you see when you're younger, and it kind of like, I mean, in addition to it kind of like spooking me, also I was just fascinated because the special effects seemed like achievable, and so it's kind of like one of those things that kind of gets your head gets your motor running as like a sort of an aspiring fledgling filmmaker. Although at that point I was probably I was thinking about one of these days I'll make a movie, but then those kinds of aspirations were dashed as I got older and I realized how much money movies cost. But fucking Dr. Keaton. Yeah, I mean, Dr. Seaman. He's definitely Mad Max. Is that a fucking fake Mad Max?
I think it's like a sports poster from the 80s.
Like the Boz or something?
Like he's some... who's that guy that played for the Chicago Bears?
Chris Farley?
No, he was on SNL.
Oh.
Like the Chicago Bears, the team with Refrigerator Perry. He was like the quarterback. Remember?
No, I don't.
I think it's that guy.
Not from this era. I'm Canadian. I don't pay attention to NFL football.
Okay. Everybody knew the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Chicago Bears, but only from the SNL. What was his name? Refrigerator Perry?
Yeah, he was like the big giant black guy from the Chicago Bears.
Like defensive line?
I think so.
Yeah, well, I don't know who Mad Mac is. A little lull in the conversation. No problem. We can cut it out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to Google it, but I think it's the guy I think it's the quarterback from the Chicago Bears.
What do you think about this film? Like in terms of like, you know, you're halfway through production, and then all of a sudden, like this little sweet girl that you've been working with just dies.
Like, at what point did she die?
Like you know, I'd say like halfway through.
Because it seems like she's in the whole movie.
Well, you don't shoot a movie sequentially. You shoot it, you know, you shoot it like to go with sort of the. I mean,
it seems like they have enough. They at least got enough footage. It's not like Bruce Lee.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that so I'm telling you that she died about halfway through production.
Okay.
But they had already shot a lot of her scenes because there's a certain.
Do you think like on set she was like, oh, my asshole hurts. Oh, I need to take a break.
I need to take a dump.
Caroline, Heather shit her pants again. Oh my god, this is awful. What are you supposed to do? Nancy Allen says she doesn't want to work with Heather anymore. Her pants are filled with shit.
I do not co-sign any of this. This is entirely his.
I'm just trying to figure things out, man.
Right, but like, imagine being Gary Sherman. Mm-hmm. And then like this little sweet girl that you've been working with, who's like a great actress, who's like sick. All of a sudden she dies, and then the studio MGM is like, well, you got to finish the movie, and you have to kind of just like, oh Jesus, like kind of get up and try to finish this movie and try to get like a body double to have her like running away. Like it's just got to be awful. I think that this really took a lot out of him. I think this made him really, really sad.
Right.
This whole thing. I think I've read at least some stuff about that. But just that, I think that added knowledge contributes somewhat to the
sadness.
Yeah, just to the vibe of the movie, just sort of being cold, feeling cold and sort of dead and despairing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting a despairing feeling from the movie, but it definitely feels cold and dead.
Yeah.
You definitely get a sense that like the if the main star of the film dies, it definitely sucks the energy out of the production. Probably.
What I mean by that, like, I guess I'm just grading on the curve because like the first, and this is probably just due to just this being of a lower quality. Mm-hmm. But like if you compare like the relationship with the family in the first one, mm-hmm. and then these two fucking Chicago sort of
hot shots.
hot shot, like coke addict kind of types, you know, like sort of it's I don't know, it just feels icy and cold. Like even their relationship, I don't even really buy their marriage all that much. They don't even seem like compared to Joe Beth Williams and Coach, right?
Well, you definitely get a lot more intimacy with Joe Beth Williams and Coach that you don't get with these guys. And I feel like that's like Spielberg type shit, like coming through with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Gary Sherman, I mean, you say he can't do horror. I disagree. I think he does a good job with Dead and Buried. And
I'd have to rewatch it. I just remember feeling very whatever about it.
Right. And I do think that there's a lot of effective horror stuff that happens in Poltergeist.
And I do feel like if we're going to talk about horror, I feel like there's more horror in Vice Squad, which is, real.
Yeah, but I mean,
quote unquote.
This is
opposed to
supernatural.
Yeah, the supernatural stuff he's.
But this is like, I mean, it's totally different. Like it's totally different. Like you have to.
Dad's teaching. Okay, Dad's teaching his daughter how to shave her legs on Tubi.
That is bizarre. It's not even for shaving. It's for
Instacart.
Oh wow, that's wild. Oh, it's okay for maybe they can have a fucking commercial where she's putting her fucking first tampon in or something. Dad's coming bend over. Well, how do you work this damn thing?
He puts it in backwards.
He puts it in her ass.
Puts it in her mouth.
He puts it in her ass. The next shot is him like getting taken away in a police car. Fucking.
So the Instacart commercial gets 4 out of 4.5 eggplants from me, and Poltergeist 3 gets 2.
Really? Okay, I give it more than that. Poltergeist 2 is a 2.5. It's a little bit better than 2.
It's just very tepid and just not a lot of the great ideas that are in the first one.
I think that there's like an interesting sort of late 80s coldness to it, both literally and metaphysically. That I just like. It just feels a certain way to me that I like. The mirrors and the glassiness, the cold, the ice, like all that stuff. I don't know.
And even sort of like bringing back that preacher man element from the second one, which wasn't even that great in the second one, and to bring it back here, and here it's even less impactful. Because they're using that guy's dead, so they're using a whole new guy. Even that it's not interesting or exciting.
It doesn't.
Oh, here's his line.
Oh yeah, that's a whole. What does he say? He's going to say that's
Innocence is pure life.
That's a load of crap that doesn't mean anything. I think that's it. You see, innocence is the only gift we're given in life. All else must be foul. In that gift is purity. In that purity is power. Oh, light strength, my bad. That's a little
crap. It doesn't mean anything.
Shut up, Seaton.
That's my review of this movie.
It's a lot of crap that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, well, I understand entirely your perspective, but I tend to be a lot more sympathetic to this movie. For reasons.
I mean, I guess I'm more sympathetic knowing that Heather O'Rourke died of shit poisoning during the middle of it.
That doesn't affect my
that makes me feel like, well, they did what they could, but I still. Tom Skerritt does a lot of that squint. He does that.
He's a real eyebrow actor. Yeah.
He's good at that. It's good.
Do you remember that? You ever see that show Picket Fences?
Nah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That show is the.
This is my favorite part in the whole thing.
Picket Fences is like the beginning of like the new wave of television.
That's like the before and after of television.
Yeah.
Picket Fences.
I'm deadly serious. Like without Picket Fences, you don't get like 6 Feet Under and like Sopranos and stuff, like just kind of this, or like 30 something, like all that crap, like that was kind of around the same time they were figuring it out and eventually getting to like.
Well, what made Picket Fences the jump start of that? Just
the sort of this. The way that just the topics handled, like there was a lot of stuff about like there's one episode where like the priest was like he collected women's shoes and he like got into trouble because he was like jerking off to women's shoes or whatever.
Oh, okay.
There's one that you would love where the little boy.
Damn, you really were invested in Picket Fences.
I used to watch it when I was a kid. There was one where the little boy did a report about black people in school, and he got like some ancient Encyclopedia Britannica, and it said that like the Negroid has like a smaller brain chamber than like the Caucasoid, it's like, so he gave this like this full on racist report in front of like the whole class, and there's like lots of black kids in the class, and the teacher was like, "Oh my God, Zachary, you're racist, you're suspended," and then like
you're suspended.
Yeah, and then later he comes back to school and he was in the bathroom peeing, and then these black kids come in to jump him. They're like, "Why'd you say that about us?" And he was like, "I just said that in the encyclopedia." And then they went to go jump him, and then he turns around and pees on them to get rid of them. So it's like, he's like, next thing you know, the parents are like, "You just peed on a bunch of black kids at your school?" So like, I don't know, it was just, it tackled like touchy subjects.
See, that sounds better than this.
Oh yeah, I mean, that episode of Picket Fences is so funny. Is that a fucking boom mic up there? What is that? Oh no, that's
the
jacket or the
towel.
towels. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Let's call it a fucking an episode. That's two out of 5 for Johnny for Poltergeist 3, and it's 2.5 for me. I have a little bit of sympathy for the fucking thing. Anyways, goodbye everybody.
Hey.